coffee shops to car washes, nearly every business in the U.S. now has their hand out for a tip.
Oh, yeah.
Bankrate survey revealing 63% of Americans hold at least one negative view about tipping. 41% believe tipping culture has gotten way out of control.
This morning, financial coach Ash Cash-Exantis joining us for PIX Financial Fix to talk about putting the power of tipping back in your control. Ash, good to see you again, my friend.
Great to see you. Great to see you.
So people are saying this is an excessive tip culture, right? And it's got a name. It's called tipflation. Once you add inflation to the word, you know it's an issue, right? So thoughts on tipping and how it affects our wallets. Everywhere you go, someone's flipping an iPad around to you asking for a tip.
Yeah, it is literally draining our pockets and we don't even know it. When you think about what we're being charged tips for, water, self-service kiosks, these things that we just take the price and we pay for it, it could definitely add up. And this is money that we could be using to invest, to save. So we definitely have to pay attention.
Well, and especially when it comes on the heels of rising prices, right? We've all felt the bite of real inflation. And the fact that tipping is not a part of the culture in other countries. Go to Europe, they don't expect it, or they expect just a tiny percentage. Why is this such a big thing here and across so many industries?
Yeah, unfortunately, what business has done here in America, in American culture, is shift the responsibility, right? So instead of paying, workers full wages, they justify low wages by being able to rely on customers to tip. And I think that's the main difference between here and other places. And it's okay to tip you actually should tip if you get good service, but it shouldn't be something mandatory or something that is, helping to provide full wages.
Yeah. Now, according to that survey, right, 38% shared their annoyance with these pre-entered tip screens. So what do we need to keep in mind when we see those prompts, right? When they flip that screen around to you, do you need to tip? Do you need to give less, 15%, 20%? You don't want to look cheap.
Yeah. I would say this. It's all psychological, right? It's almost like a guilt trip.
Totally.
Whether they had good service or not, a lot of servers are like expecting you to tip, and you might feel like because it's on there already that you should do it. I would say the standard is 15 to 20%, but also if you get good service. Right now we're seeing 20%, 25%, even 30% as a default, and you got to understand that you're in control, so you don't necessarily have to.
And they
tip
stare
that
at you.
high.
They stare at you and they flip it around.
I
and they're
do
looking at you.
I do try to like defer the eye contact, like look down, like, oh, I'm really busy on this text.
Yeah.
All right, but we also have to be very mindful of the fact that some businesses actually have already woven in gratuity fees. How do we make sure that we're sort of not getting caught in like double tipping?
Yeah.
This is a big one because especially when you have small groups, what winds up happening is that gratuity is already put in there. A lot of times people don't want to look cheap, right, amongst their friends. So they'll just look at the number, pay it, and then somebody else will say, oh, I'll take care of the tip, not knowing that they're double tipping. I would say that you have to scrutinize everything. Look at all of the prices, look at everything you're being charged for. It doesn't make you cheap. It doesn't make you broke. It doesn't make you frugal. It makes you a wise investor, a wise spender. So you definitely gotta watch it because it happens all the time.
I think this became really big in the pandemic, right? That's where we kind of saw this explode, where people who were going to work for food companies and so on and so forth, they deserved the tip because they were working during the pandemic. And then it kind of held on. So I think the question now is, because so many of those places kept them, who should you actually tip and who should you not?
Yeah, anybody that is doing service, right? So, wait staff, drivers, hairstylists, barbers, hotel staff, housekeeping, they're actually providing a service. But if you go to a self-service kiosk and you bag your stuff yourself and there's a tip, we're not tipping machines. Like, come on.
I am not a personal ATM.
Right.
So now, with some industries versus other industries, some are much more labor intensive. Which ones would you say should get more of like the 15%, and which ones should get the higher end of the spectrum? And can we ever make it smaller? Sometimes I feel like the option starts at 18%.
Right.
I'm like,
Absolutely. I agree.
I'd actually like to go 12.
We go on.
Yeah. So here's the thing. The old rule says 15 to 20% for good service, though. And so the truth of the matter is that tipping should be optional.
But how do you know?
And so
Ash?
let's just say
how do you know? because sometimes they're asking you for the tip before the service was provided. The screen's already been flipped around. Your thing hasn't even been made yet.
And the good thing about that is that there's always the custom tip where you could just change it. So even though these are suggested percentages, if you feel like you didn't get good service and you don't want to tip, and the tip percentage is too high, hit custom tip and you tip whatever you want, even if it's $1. You have the right. You're in full control.
Mm-hmm.
All right, good stuff, Ash. Thank you. And judging by the level of like hot under the collar that Dan and I got on this one, we landed on the right topic this morning. We appreciate you.
Oh yeah, good stuff.